So by this point, I'd say that most Sonic and or DC fans know about the Sonic DC comic book crossover series. There are 5 comics in total, all of which will be released as one giant novel at some point in the near future. It includes characters like Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Cyborg, Flash, and Green Lantern from the DC universe, while characters like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, and Silver are from the Sonicvers. Now, the main thing that seems to be blowing everyone's mind right now is the fact that Sonic seemingly beats Flash in a race. However, one thing to note about these comics is that neither Sega nor DC are claiming them as canon to their timelines, or whatever you want to call it. So, with the realization of this, there are people across the internet continuing with the debate of which speedster is faster, Sonic or Flash. And to add to that, which speedster is just overall better when in a fight. So, since I'm not completely immune to trends, here's my take on which character is faster, Sonic or Flash. Let's get into it. Now, my first inkling as to how to figure this out was to do a classic game theory type of video. Take measurements, count the pixels, crunch the numbers, but first of all, as good at math as I am, that would take a lot of time. And also, not every Sonic and Flash are the same. I can't really measure speed in the case of the comics of either character, and especially with Flash, since he isn't even the same person in every comic. You have Jay Garrick, Barry Allen, and Wally West, who all take on the name of Flash. And it isn't particularly clear which of the Flash Sonic is racing between Barry Allen and Wally West within the crossover comics. Not only that, both these characters have multiple cartoons, video games, and Flash in particular has 2 different live-action representations. Which, by the way, I never saw the Flash movie. I'm not even gonna touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. No amount of Michael Keaton could get me to watch that movie. Ugh. Grant Gustin is way better both in and out of character over Ezra Miller, any day of the week. Anyway, like I said, trying to measure which character is faster based on visual media is very, very hard. So I'm taking a little bit of a different approach. There are certain things that both Sonic and Flash can do because of the fact that they are speedsters. And I mean, running fast is the basic one, yes, but there are others that require their level of speed to be able to do. So I'm gonna do my best and try and match all the skills that both Flash and Sonic have and see who can do just a little bit more. So to start this off, I'm gonna skip right on up to Mach 1 to save time. We already know that both these characters can reach this speed as, just by looking at Season 1, Episode 6 of The Flash, he's able to get up to Mach 1 and hit his high school nemesis Tony Woodward with a Sonic Punch. And then of course for Sonic, he can, which is Mach 1, or roughly 767 miles per hour. But what skills does that already entail with this feat of speed? Well, a speedy metabolism, speedy thinking, running on water, creating wind vortexes, running up the sides of buildings, as well as dodging bullets, are all things that require speed under 767 miles per hour. Also, if you're questioning if Sonic can do all of these things that Flash can, yes, he can. Sometimes the proof is a little bit more obscure than others, but Sonic has indeed at one point or another done all these things. For instance, he eats a ridiculous amount of chili dogs within the Sonic Boom show, especially over other things which really don't put much emphasis on his eating habits, aside from the occasional chili dog joke. And within Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, Sonic has a special whirlwind attack in the game, which closely resembles the vortex thing that Flash does with his arms to put out fires and other things like that within the show. The movie Sonic 2 shows him running on water, albeit very rough water that he doesn't cross successfully, but I think that's mostly just due to the fact that the water was so crazy, and also he was scared because he can't swim, unlike the Flash, who I think he can, right? Anyway, moving on, when it comes to dodging bullets, though a classic for Flash, it isn't as much of a classic for Sonic, since Eggman seems to usually use laser guns instead of classic guns. but he does dodge classic bullets right in this scene in the first movie here. And finally, running up walls. Honestly, I didn't know how to figure out the math behind this, so I tried to cheat and use Cisco within the show, but...
How fast would I need to go to run up the side of a building?
72.56.
Guys, hurry!
Just run really fast and you'll be fine, but you need to maintain your velocity on the way down, or
What?
splat.
Yeah, it seems like the writers of the Flash show didn't want to do that math either. So instead, I dug up this random site online to tell me a rough estimate of how fast you'd need to go to run up a building. But it's for an 8-story building, instead of a 20-story building that would be more likely what Flash or Sonic would go up. And I tried doing the math for 20 stories, but somehow ended up with a slower speed than the original equation had. So solve this yourselves if you want, and let me know your answers in the comments, because apparently I stink at physics. But now, before I continue, there are 2 different talents that the Flash has that I'm unsure that Sonic can do. But I mean, it's not entirely out of the question either. The first one is throwing lightning. This specific talent is most dominant in the live-action show. And the premise behind it is that the Flash is moving fast enough that he's catching up to his own lightning trail and being able to grab the lightning and throw it at an enemy. And before the Sonic movies were a thing, I would have said with firmness that Sonic wouldn't be able to do a skill like this. Not because he isn't fast enough, since, I mean, just play Sonic Frontiers for like 5 minutes, and you'll quickly realize that that's incredibly easy for Sonic. But Sonic doesn't seem to produce lightning in the games. It had really nothing to do with his speed. His trail, unlike the Flash, is just a clear blue sheet. I don't really know what the creators are going for, other than just letting players know that Sonic was moving fast. But now with the movies, Sonic clearly has electricity running through him, and all over him when he runs. So it would definitely be a lot more plausible that Sonic could gain this skill with a bit of practice, especially within the movies. And then the second skill that Flash has, across most of his media types, is phasing. And no, I don't mean he had some sort of weird rebellious edge phase or whatever. I mean he phases through solid objects. Here, I'll let Dr. Wells explain.
If you vibrate at the natural frequency of air, your body, your cells will be in a state of excitement that should allow you to phase right through that wall, leaving the bomb on the other side.
So again, I don't know what speed exactly this is for Flash, but the thing I'm more focused on with this again is just the fact that I don't know how in control Sonic is of every molecule of his body. Like I established earlier, he can think, eat, and read all at super fast speeds, but also his power isn't revolved around electricity like the Flash is. Yes, like I said, in the movies there is electricity in him, but that isn't explicitly explained. So I really don't know if he has that kind of control over his body or not. I could imagine so, or I could also imagine not so. Again, I don't know. Tell me what you think about this in the comments below. But now we're moving on to some of Flash's more crazy speed skills. I'm basically testing if Sonic can live up to them. Time travel and dimension travel are 2 core parts of the Flash's abilities, probably more than any of the other skills that I've mentioned before this. And the reason is he has to run much faster in order to do these types of skills. Around the speed of light, seemingly, which, for reference, is 670,615,862 miles more than Mach 1. Now, quite honestly, I don't understand how that's supposed to work for different dimensions or realities, since those are supposed to be places that vibrate at a different frequency. So it's not really about traveling faster so much as getting the right frequency for it, but whatever. I suppose that's another video to get into some other time. Now the question is, can Sonic do any of these things? And I'm gonna say yes, he can. There are 2 times when he's in strange, timeless alternate dimensions that he breaks out of. Basically each level in Sonic Generations, and once in Sonic Forces with Null Space. Now, the reason this crazy feat isn't mentioned much within Sonic Generations is because it is not really that talked about even within the game. But if you think about it, Sonic is moving fast enough through each level where time doesn't exist, which is why the rest of the characters are seemingly frozen in front of each level, and snapping it back into time just by running fast. So in a way, Sonic is both time traveling and jumping dimensions, I think. Not only that, but null space within Sonic Forces is just a black void with nothing. But Sonic is able to make it out of there. Now this one isn't as notable as he has the avatar you get to create at the beginning of the game to help him out of the timeless place, but still, it's impressive. And lastly, you have Sonic CD, which has to do with just time travel. Yes, there are signs that tell you whether you're going into the future or the past, but Sonic is the one who has to run really fast in order to do that. Additionally, like I was saying earlier, Eggman usually seems to shoot lasers at Sonic instead of regular bullets, which, while we see not only within Sonic but other stuff like Star Wars or Star Trek that these lasers are slow enough to see, in reality these lasers are traveling at the speed of light. I mean, they are light that's being shot out of a gun and burning a hole in whatever they touch. That is way faster than any regular bullet. The fastest bullet from a handheld firearm or a rifle gun is 0.220 swift, and when fired from a rifle, it travels up to 2,800 miles an hour. That is fast. But a laser, or more accurately a laser bullet, is once again the speed of light, which, in case you've forgotten, is 670,616,629 miles an hour. And mind you, Sonic is moving fast enough that he's dodging these light bullets before they even scathe him. So even when he's just dodging all these bullets, he's already moving faster than the speed of light with just his basic fights with Eggman. So that means Sonic could very well do what the Flash does in this particular comic of saving an entire city from a nuclear bomb within a millisecond. And this wasn't just some teeny tiny city. This was the city of Chongjin, North Korea, which in 2008, when this comic was released, had approximately 627,000 people in it. Now, are places like New York City way more populated? Yes, but even still, Flash had to get all these people out of the blast radius of a nuclear bomb. Granted, both atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs are nuclear bombs, and from what I can find, there's no explanation as to which it is within this comic. Maybe I'm wrong, but since it seems that the Flash didn't take them far enough away from the blast for it to not be visible within the scene, I'm gonna maybe guess it's an atomic bomb. Because both atomic bombs from World War II had a 1-mile blast radius, which means running at least 2 miles for every person of that city to go there and to go back. And to be honest, I thought the Flash would have to go faster than the speed of light to achieve all this, but according to the comic page itself, it was just a breath short of it, so I guess Sonic could do this easily. Seems crazy to me, but yeah, he's dodging light bullets on a daily basis, so he could easily do this apparently. Lastly, I'm gonna talk about one of the major differences between Sonic and the Flash, and that's the Speed Force. Many times throughout comics or the live action shows or whatever type of Flash media you've consumed, you've heard of the Speed Force, and that it's not just electricity, but almost a living thing. And depending on the story you're engaged with, Flash is able to channel the Speed Force, or even go as far as to become it. For instance, I think the most ridiculous thing I've learned about is Flash running faster than someone who can instantly teleport. He takes everyone's speed from other planets via the Speed Force, and runs faster than instant teleportation. And to my knowledge, Sonic doesn't have this kind of insanity, technically. Now, the reason why I say technically is because while Sonic doesn't have the Speed Force, he has the Chaos Emeralds. And characters like Sonic, Knuckles, and Shadow all have an ability to sense these emeralds, I think. I'm pretty sure of that anyway, don't quote me on it. But even if that's not the case, these emeralds are powerful. And when Sonic, or really any other character with Chaos capabilities uses them, these stones become a part of them. And like the Speed Force, Sonic has done some crazy stuff with these emeralds that not only include speed, but strength. For instance, in Sonic 06, Silver, Shadow, and Sonic fight Solaris outside of time. So to be able to do that is an innumerable amount of speed, I suppose. The second is that Sonic and Blaze within Sonic Rush fly in space with no kind of rockets or anything. Same thing in the Sonic Avenger 2 and Sonic 3 movie, which is all just crazy if you stop and think about it. And then, the final thing to mention isn't really something I discovered so much as something I'm reposting from the Sonic Wiki Zone. This person, called the Lazy Lotus, posted this interesting piece of information that I'll try and sum up. Basically, there's a meter in Sonic Unleashed, and the top number on that meter is 390. And keeping that in mind, a Sonic Lightspeed Dash is at the speed of light, because it's called exactly that in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. So then the person does a few more calculations, including that 390 number and all the other numbers, and ends up with the number 6,051,022,551 miles per hour, or 9 times the speed of light. And then after this, the commenter goes to Sonic Advance 2, explaining how Sonic gets to the true Area 53 zone within 5 seconds, and that this area seems like a spiral galaxy. A little bit more math later, and now we got this ginormous number that I don't even know the placeholder names of. Or, if we want to condense it, 12,668,937,262,514 times faster than the speed of light. Honestly, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I feel like with the Flash beating someone in a race who's already blipping instantly from planet to planet, I think it's allowed for me to mention this piece of information, no matter how wacky it sounds. And another thing to note, that some people believe that the Flash traveled 13 trillion times faster than the speed of light when it came to that nuclear bomb thing I mentioned earlier. But again, the comic says he's actually going much slower than that, so I'm mentioning it, but I'm not sure if I should count it or not. So with all that said, it seems that I don't have a clear-cut answer to if Flash or Sonic is the faster speedster. A part of me wants to say Flash is faster just because the comics seem to have some insane writers that kind of just make Flash able to do anything. But on the other hand, we really have even less speed measurements for Sonic than we do for Flash, so the comparison is really unfair. Not only that, but Sonic is younger and shorter. Most people's prime is their 20s, and Sonic is canonically only 15. So if Sega ever decided to age up Sonic again and make him a young adult, I think he could end up outrunning the Flash without any question. But with all that said, I think for me personally, I'm going to finalize my decision and say that I think Sonic could just be a little bit faster, at least on a daily basis. My reasoning being simply that he outruns lasers all the time, plus he's snapped worlds back into place because of just running. So as far as speed goes for casual, not really pushing yourself too much, it seems like Sonic can comfortably go the speed of light, while that always seems like a big deal for Flash. Maybe his top speed might not be higher than the Flash, but for casual running, I'd say Sonic is definitely faster. Anyway, what do you think? Do you think that I made a decent enough argument to pit Sonic against Flash, or do you think that Flash would just blow Sonic right out of the water in reality? And if you liked this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!